Hello everyone, this is Ashley Tucker. Thank you for joining me today. For today's cards, I'm going to be using some Aqua Pigment paints from Brutus Monroe. These paints are a liquid watercolor, and I'm going to be using them to create a few different backgrounds. For the first set of backgrounds, I picked out 3 different colors, and I put the paint directly on my Holtz Glass Mat. I sprayed a little bit of water onto the paint, and then I took a piece of Canson watercolor paper and I just smooshed it right onto that. As I pick up the paper, I kind of drag it a little bit across the surface, and I find that creates some really cool looking patterns on the paper. I really love this technique. I like the really kind of ethereal, magical kind of look you get to your backgrounds. I'm going to be creating quite a few backgrounds, but I'm actually only going to use 2 of them, and I can set aside all of the rest of them for future cards. So for the first set of backgrounds, I used the colors Magenta, Turquoise, and Blue-Violet. For the second set of backgrounds, I actually used that Magenta and Blue-Violet again, and then I also added pink. And as you can see, I can get 2 or 3 backgrounds out of all of that paint that I put on my mat. For this third set of backgrounds, I'm using the colors Yellow, Turquoise, and Blue-Green. This blue-green color is one of my favorite colors of Aqua Pigment paints, and I think I've already used half of the bottle. I use it a lot. So the same thing here, I spray it with water first, and that helps to get the colors moving, and it also dilutes it a little bit. This technique is really great for creating a ton of backgrounds really quickly. I made about 10 different backgrounds, and I made them in less than 10 minutes. Okay, so I picked out 2 of the backgrounds, and I cut them down to be just a little bit smaller than an A2 size card, and now I'm going to be creating a shaker out of them using my fuse tool. The plastic that I'm using to create my shaker pocket is actually just some old scrapbooking sleeves that I had in my stash. I find that these work really well with my fuse tool. If you've never heard of a fuse tool before, it's this tool that gets really hot, and it has this wheel on the end that you roll along 2 pieces of plastic and it fuses them together. One tip that I have for using a fuse tool would be to let it heat up for quite a while before you use it. If you use it before it's ready, it might look like you fused together the 2 pieces of plastic, but it actually isn't a very strong connection and it'll break apart. Another tip that I have, and this one is really important, make sure you're really careful not to touch the tip of the fuse tool because it is very hot, and I can tell you from experience that it'll burn you really good. Okay, so once I fused together 3 sides of each of these shaker pockets, I left the top open so that I could put some sequins in. Once I had a good amount of sequins in the pockets, I used the fuse tool again to close up the top. Then I trimmed off the excess plastic using my Tonic Trimmer. For the sentiments on my cards, I chose a stamp from the Beautiful Flowers stamp set from Simon Says Stamp, and it says Happy Birthday. I stamped that with Versamark ink onto a piece of vellum, and then I embossed it with Alabaster white embossing powder from Brutus Monroe. Now, just so you know, I did go over both of those strips with my powder tool before stamping so that I didn't have any trouble with the embossing powder. The reason that I cut these strips to be pretty long is because I knew that I wanted to wrap them around my shaker pocket and adhere them to the back. This way I don't have to deal with any adhesive showing through the vellum on the front. I used my ATG gun in order to adhere those flaps onto the back of the panel. And then I did the same exact thing with the green background. Next, I took both backgrounds and I adhered them to A2 size card bases, and I used my ATG gun again for the adhesive. I really prefer to use my ATG gun when working with this plastic. I decided to stamp a second sentiment for both of the cards, so I took out this little sentiment which says Make a Wish, and this comes from Simon Says Stamp's Tiny Words stamp set. I stamped that onto Neenah Solar White cardstock, and I stamped it with Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink. I then cut them both down into little strips with a slanted edge on one side, and then I adhered them onto the card right underneath the happy birthday banner. Okay, so for the finishing touches, I started with a few different sizes of white sequins and I spread them across the card, and then I glued them down using my Gina K Connect glue. You might have noticed for one of those sequins, I accidentally put way too much glue, but it was really easy to pick up the sequin and wipe away the glue before it dried, and then just re-adhere it. Next, I took my glossy accents and I filled in all of those sequin cups. And I think it might be time to retire this bottle of glossy accents because it's kind of turned a little bit of a yellow color. Next, I took my Wink of Stella glitter brush and I added some sparkle to the smaller sentiments. And with that, these cards are both done. Here's a closer look at the two cards, and you can see all of those shaker bits moving around in there. This is really a fun and different way to create some shakers. Thank you for watching today. I hope you really enjoyed these card designs. All of the supplies that I used to make these cards can be found in the description down below. If you enjoyed watching and you have not subscribed to my channel yet, I would encourage you to hit the subscribe button so that you can see all of my future videos. I'm going to be back with a new video on Monday. Again, thank you for watching. I appreciate all of you, and I hope you have a good day today.